Back in 2021, the Nobel Prize in Physics went to two scientists, Shukuro Manabe and Klaus Hasselmann, for work they'd started decades earlier. Their incredible achievement? They basically built the very first reliable models of our planet's climate. They became the architects of how we understand our world, and today we're going to take a look at their blueprints.
So, this is the official line from the Nobel Committee. It sounds super dense and scientific, right? But let's be real. What does it actually mean? How in the world do you create a physical model of an entire planet? What's this variability they're talking about? And what makes a prediction reliable enough to win a Nobel Prize? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Everything really kicks off with that first massive challenge, the physical modeling of Earth's climate. This is the bedrock of it all. It's this incredibly audacious idea of taking our chaotic, complex, beautiful planet and translating it into a language that we can use to predict and understand things. And you gotta admit, that sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? How can you build a model of something so vast, so complicated? It's not like it's a little globe with tiny cotton ball clouds. It's something way more elegant and, frankly, a whole lot more powerful.
Okay, so here's the core concept. This is not guesswork. It's not just a bunch of assumptions. A climate model is a seriously complex simulation that's built on the non-negotiable rules of the universe. Things like the conservation of energy, thermodynamics, fluid dynamics. You're essentially building a virtual Earth that runs on the fundamental laws of physics.
So how does this whole thing work? Well, this is where Shukuro Manabe was a total game changer. He started by plugging in the fundamental physics, the rulebook for our world. But to make this unbelievably complex problem solvable with the computers they had back in the 1960s, he had this brilliant idea: simplify. His first model treated the whole atmosphere like a single column, just looking at how energy moved up and down. Then you let the supercomputers run the simulation, calculating all these interactions over decades. And what you get out is a long-term picture of our climate. Manabe was also one of the very first to link the atmosphere and the oceans together in a model, creating something truly global. But just creating a model, that was a huge first step. But it wasn't enough. The Earth's climate is incredibly noisy. I mean, think about it. The weather is chaotic. So the next great challenge was figuring out how to find a clear signal inside all of that noise. And that brings us to the second piece of the puzzle: quantifying variability. The best way to think about this is to compare the planet to a person. The weather is like your mood. It can change in an instant, right? Sunny one minute, stormy the next. But the climate is your personality, that underlying long-term pattern. Having one bad day doesn't suddenly change who you are as a person. And it's the exact same for our planet. And this was the problem that Klaus Hasselmann decided to tackle. How can you possibly tell if the whole climate, the planet's personality, is actually changing when the weather, its mood, is swinging so wildly every single day? How do you find that faint, persistent signal of long-term change when it's buried under the loud, messy noise of daily weather? Just think about this number for a second. The average global temperature might go up by this tiny fraction of a degree over a decade. But in that same decade, you're going to have massive heat waves, crazy blizzards, and everything in between, with temperatures swinging 20 or 30 degrees in a single day. What Hasselmann did was brilliant. He borrowed statistical methods from other areas of physics and gave us the tools to prove that this tiny, long-term warming signal was the real deal, and not just a random fluctuation in the weather noise. It was genius.
Okay, so they built the models, they figured out how to filter out all the noise, and that led to the ultimate goal, the final, crucial piece of that Nobel citation: reliably predicting global warming.
And of all the words in that whole sentence, this one for me just pops right off the page: reliably. Why? Because, anyone can make a prediction, right? But to create a prediction that's trustworthy, that's scientifically sound, and that can stand up to decades of scrutiny, that is what changes the world. This is exactly why reliability is such a big deal. Their work created an undeniable, data-driven link between cause and effect. It proved that rising CO2 was causing rising temperatures. It showed the world that this wasn't just some random chance or a fluke. It gave us a trusted compass to see where we were headed, and in doing so, it established the scientific foundation for action. So when you put all of these pieces together, the physical model, figuring out the signal from the noise, and the reliability of it all, you finally see the full picture. Manabe and Hasselmann weren't just running numbers. They were building something. They were truly the architects of our understanding.
So let's look at this citation one last time. Now, every single phrase has real weight, doesn't it? We know physical modeling means building a virtual Earth based on the laws of physics. We know quantifying variability is all about finding the climate's personality within the weather's mood. And we know that reliably predicting was the absolute breakthrough that gave us a trustworthy map of our own future.
And that right there is their legacy. They gave us the blueprints. Every climate projection we see today, every single important conversation we have about our planet's future, stands on the very foundation that they built all those years ago. Their work gave us this incredible tool, this ability to see what lies ahead. They handed us the architectural plans for our planet's future. And so the profound question they left for all of us is, what are we going to choose to build with it?